Right there, geezers, Jules here from FGS, home of the Future Games Show, and when I'm looking to relax after work, few things get me going to that pure state of chill than video games. And yeah, I know I speak about them for a living, but there's a big difference between playing games for research or to review and actively taking your time, getting curled up on the couch and just embracing the moment with this medium. It doesn't matter whether you're playing a chill farming sim or getting your mush kicked in on an online fighter, if you've carved out a bit of you time with a game, there's really nothing better. Well, unless the game in question introduces a mechanic that slows the enjoyment factor to a halt and, for lack of better words, kills the vibe. Cheers. So let's have a chat, as I'm Jules, this is FGS, and these are 8 video game mechanics that killed the vibe. And you know the drill, this is the Deep Cut with Jules Gill, baby, so don't expect to see things like escort missions or Dark Souls' atrocious soul-level multiplayer matchmaking mechanic, as these are too obvious. Deep cuts only. And let's kick things off with number 8, real-time water supply. Forever Winter. So we start this list with a relative newcomer that in many respects is making all the right moves until its sultry boogie is somewhat undone by it promptly in its own hands and then demanding that you do the tango with it. Forever Winter, a game that is without a doubt a contender for best art design that I've seen in a long old while, as this is kind of like Blade Runner meets abject human suffering, and I am totally here for it. Now the aim of the game is to survive, but unlike other titles which posit you as a ragtag bunch of heroes, here you're just an absolute nobody just trying to scavenge whatever you can in order to make it through another day. Kind of like just being a regular person here in England. Satire? Yes? Problem is, however, that there's a war going on between 2 other very well-equipped factions, and if you get in the way, well, you're going to be turned to a red paste real quick. Therefore, Forever Winter becomes a game about stealthy sneaking, choosing your moment to strike, and then getting the hell out of there before everything comes crashing down around you. It is a pretty great time, all being said, and outside of its pretty wonky animations and enemy pathing, it is a tense thrill ride from start to finish. It's just a shame that this game also comes with a resource requirement that is tied to a real-world timer, and if you don't top it up every day, all of your characters will die and all of your progress will be reset. Yeah, what a real boner killer. You see, here you're going to need to gather water to keep your colony going, and while grabbing the resource itself isn't too taxing, the fact that it's tied to a countdown timer means that if you leave the game for a few days and don't spend hours running the same map over and over again to gather the water you'll need to have a real-life break, you'll come back to a hard restart. And that is no fun whatsoever. It's clear the devs had an idea and definitely ran with it, but that doesn't mean that the idea was any good in the first place. Forever Winter, more like Forever Water, do not punish me for having a real life, and equally, don't make me feel like an utter loser with no life if I do have the supreme amount of water stocked up. Honestly, I've only just gotten over the horrible pangs of fear that Tamagotchis burned into my soul about the constant care requirements that a video game needs. I do not need this again. If this gets fixed or changed, however, well, then Forever Winter may well be the sleeper hit of 2024. Number 7, Infinite Combos, Samurai Western. Okay friends, it's time to take a look at a deep cut classic that is absolutely coated in dust because of its obscurity and Western grit in equal measure, as we're going to talk about the obscure PS2 game Samurai Western. And while I promise that I won't be doing my usual terrible attempt at a cowboy accent, aside from this, yeehaw! I will, however, be wearing this. I feel like this is the lesser of two evils, and yes, you're welcome. You're also absolutely welcome for me bringing this game into your lives because it absolutely, positively kicks ass. It's easily being one of the most fun, outlandish, and relentlessly chaotic action games I've ever played. As here, you're an absolute dodging and deflecting machine, being able to use the game's wonderful dodge mechanic to close distances with enemies and slice them up with over-the-top combos. Seriously, every time you dodge in this game, it moves you forward towards the enemy you're targeting, so you just go spinning around like a whirling dervish. It's fantastic, and if you just stand there mashing the R1 button, you can deflect bullets back at the people shooting at you. It is real good. I came close to the Western accent, but not quite. It was pretty poor though. It's a game that has you literally bringing a knife, or in this case sword, to a gunfight and then turning every 6 shooter you see into a body 6 feet under. I love it. However, what stops this game from being a solid 100 on the Yeehaw-O-meter that I had Mark spend 3 weekends making and will use once and then never again is that there's another mechanic in this game that doesn't quite hit the same mark, and that is the Fury Mode mechanic. Now, on paper, this sounds utterly badass, as it gives you, and just let me check my notes here, infinite bloody combos, meaning that you can mash buttons while in this mode to forever dish out the punishment to enemies. However, the problem arises the moment you try to use this mode on the many bosses in this game, as they just take a look at this hurricane of destruction that you're bringing to their door and say, no. As nearly always, they'll just block the first move, meaning that you're just wailing against them, doing absolutely nothing, absolutely no damage whatsoever. It turns what should be an amazing mode of empowerment and over-the-top action into kind of like your little brother flailing against you trying to get the TV remote out of your hand. It's not happening, mate. It's not happening. I'm watching Bones. We're watching Bones, mate. I don't care if you want to watch Bluey. Bluey versus Bones, who's going to win that fight? Probably Bluey, to be honest, he's a hard nut, but whatever, man. But yeah, you're gonna look like an utter tool if you don't land that first hit. Still, because the game is so goddamn good, it should not deter you from seeking it out. Yes, it is that good. And once more, you're welcome. Now I'm gonna get this off before it leaves a horrible ring mark on my bold, silly head. Also, thank you to Hunter for making me that hat in the first place. Number 6, aim for the head, Deadliest Warrior. Now I won't lie to you, friends. Yay! The Deadliest Warrior video game is not very good, like by any stretch of the imagination, so it's actually no surprise that some of the mechanics function about as well as a rail replacement bus. I mean, seriously, whenever you absolutely positively need to get anywhere here in the UK, there it is, old unreliable. What's that, mate? You'll leave whenever you fancy and take the longest way around to get to the next station? Cool, I guess I'll just sit next to this guy here who's brushed his teeth with the same brush he used to clean his arse with. I'm not bitter. I am. Yet here's the thing, as a vibe, it's actually a bit of a fun game because it's so preposterously dumb that loading it up with a few mates and a few cans in hand is an absolute riot. Still, one thing that I could definitely do without is the mechanic that dictates whether your character's ranged weapon will auto-aim for the head or not. You see, most characters have a ranged weapon, but only some of them auto-aim for the head, and others just aim for the body, and you won't be told which one you've got until you've either launched your projectile or fallen dead from an insta-kill headshot. Yeah, that's right, all shots to the head are one-hit kills, and having a projectile that hits with near-perfect accuracy to that spot automatically is one surefire way to kill the pseudo-party vibe that this game accidentally achieves with the same ruthless efficiency. Thank you, no thank you. Number 5, the music sections, Disney Twisted-Wonderland. Okay gang, I ask you this, if you're making a rhythm action game, or at least a game with rhythm action elements in it, what's the first thing that you should probably make sure you absolutely nail? What's that? Parappa the Rapper remaster? You should make sure that there's an inbuilt delay on all modern TVs between the button presses and the on-screen commands. Who the hell let you in here? Security, please escort this guy out, rough him up a bit. You know what, just rip him at the edges for a bit. I don't care that he's an icon. I don't care it's a classic game. That remaster was dog's it was absolute No, friends, the real answer was the fact that you should make your music actually tie to the bloody gameplay. Twisted Melody, where do you think you're going? Because this is aimed directly at you. Sit down. But you see, it's time to talk about a little mobile game that had so much going for it that it was genuinely heartbreaking when it absolutely dropped the ball this badly when it came to a single mechanic choice. Disney Twisted Melody has, on the surface, style, production value, a fun premise of being a new student in a magical school tasked with taking down Disney villains, and also presents a pretty banging soundtrack to boot. However, it's when this soundtrack is used to introduce rhythm action battle elements that its biggest problem begins to appear. And that is that the button prompts are not tied to the melody nor the beat and are just in fact random series of taps and inputs that may occasionally line up with what you're listening to. I mean, come on guys, It was right there in front of you. And seeing as you clearly had money to pour into other areas of this game, how hard was it to tie your music to the player's actions? On some of the harder difficulties, it's actively off-putting as you'll sometimes be tapping off beat or sometimes so close to the real beat that it will cost you your combos, lives, and ultimately your enjoyment of the game itself. I know, we shouldn't expect anything from mobile games, but still, this was so close to being, well, above average, and that makes it all the more annoying. Number 4, everybody quits. Welcome back to today's episode of Most Hated Man in the World, and today's guest is Tim Bifter, who I won't lie, I want to punch in the face just by looking at him. Tim, why didn't you explain why I had to hire extra security today to hold the audience at bay? And I regret doing so because I just want to just shove a pen right into your taste buds, mate. Because you annoy me so much. Whoa, guys, I think maybe we're overreacting a little bit here. I didn't even do anything wrong. I don't even know why I'm on this show. I mean, why does this show even exist? Quiet, scumbag. Why didn't you tell people what you did last night? Nothing, I swear, I was doing nothing. I was just at home and I was playing Star Fox Command on the DS and I was playing a few matches online. I admittedly got a bit salty and then I quit the game and what does that have to do with anything? What does this and this elongated skit have to do with anything? And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, an admission of guilt, because we all know what happens when you quit games early on Star Fox Command, don't we, Tim? It doesn't just end the match for you, it ends the entire match for everyone if one player leaves, and so it gives me great pleasure to condemn you to death. Wait, what? Why would a game mechanic do that? Why would it kick everybody out? That's so stupid. That's not my fault. That just kills the fun for everyone. Also, did you just say death? Thanks for coming in, Tim. Next up, we have Andy Hogroast, who eats babies and poos in the letterboxes of the elderly. How are we on the same level? How are we on the same level? Number 3, Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare. Oh, Alone in the Dark, you are such an incorrigible little cutesy pie, aren't you? Seriously, no matter how the series seems to flail and stumble from time to time, which can also be read as all the bloody time, I still absolutely love most of the elements that it brings to the horror conversation. That being said, in The New Nightmare, there is one mechanic that can absolutely drown in an unflushed toilet, because it's one that I'm genuinely surprised got through the first round of reviews by the dev teams themselves. And that is respawning enemies. Now, to the video game layman, this might not even raise an eyebrow, but in a survival horror game in which resources are limited and often hard to come by, those brows better be hitting the Millhouse levels of high, because that is quite frankly ridiculous. I mean, imagine trying to explore a creepy house with nothing but a pack of caffeinated gamer noodles to your name and maybe a weapon fashioned out of your own soaked trousers, right? And you've battled your way through the odds, only to hit a dead end and have to backtrack through the same areas, and it's just full again of the same horrors that clawed and tore your health to pieces. Oh, what's that? I don't have to imagine it, because that's exactly what The New Nightmare did. Ooh, atrocious, stinky, I hate it. Number 2, F this, NBA 2K14. Right friends, let's hop back into my egg-shaped time machine to the year of 2013, where Katy Perry's Raw wouldn't get off the bloody airwaves, promotional material from Iron Man 3 wouldn't get off our bloody screens, and where NBA 2K14 wouldn't get off my bloody for not allowing me to swear. You see, in a misguided effort to curb players cussing out others online, if you happen to have a PlayStation camera or Xbox Kinect plugged in when you launched the game, the microphone of the device would start monitoring your language. Now, creepy spy factor aside, the reason for this was that the game actively tracks whether or not you were swearing at your opponent, because, get this, if it heard something it didn't like, it would award your opponent a technical foul and pass control over to them, stopping you in your tracks, disrupting the entire experience, and for those not aware of this feature, would leave them even more irate than before. So I ask you, what the hell was going on here? Now, thankfully, this could be turned off, but as an instance of personal invasion, it's a pretty woeful feature. Now, I'm all for creating a positive gaming space, but I actively swear when I'm actually doing well in video games, so to be punished for that, well, that seems completely out of line. And number 1, wrong target, idiot, Rollcage. Oh baby, it is a good day indeed that I get to dust off the absolute classic that is Rollcage, a game that was sold to me as a kid with its liquid smooth gameplay, stellar design, and the fact that you could drive right up the goddamn walls and stick to ceilings. It basically just made the entire racetrack into your personal racing plaything. Now this ability to ride up walls and onto other surfaces is a brilliant mechanic, so good in fact that Mario Kart 8 pretty much doubled down on the idea and took it to new heights. However, this mechanic, which I've asked Mark to animate inside a festering bin over here, is what we're actually going to be chugging down today. So I hope that everyone brought a straw as we're about to sup the rancid juice that is the homing missile lock-on mechanic. Ugh. You see, as this is a racing game, of course there's power-ups and abilities to help those in last place even the odds by sending an explosive right up the tailpipe of whomever is in front of them. And while these for the most part work as expected, for some reason the decision was made to let the leader missile that should, as the name suggests, attack the player in first place, also randomly target buildings as well. Now the idea here is good, I guess, in principle, because yes, a building being dropped on first place would hamper their racing ability somewhat, but the problem is that this was sometimes bugged and targeted the wrong building, and so would bring an office block down on your head instead, meaning that your so-called super powerful item is now costing you the entire race. Good, great. Glad to see that we worked this out. If anyone needs me, I'll be underneath the cafeteria, like 6 feet under thanks to this stupid missile. And there we go, my friends, those were some video game mechanics that killed the vibe. I hope that you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. If you want to chat to me further, you can do so over on my social medias here, and you can follow my lovely editor Mark over on his social medias over here as well. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Even though we spoke today about the vibe, let's bring it up, my friend, because we're going to remind ourselves that we are good people, we deserve love, happiness, and success, and nothing, nobody, and nothing has any right to tell us otherwise. We are all big ledges, and we should treat ourselves as such. So just be kind to yourself, my friend, because you know what? You bloody deserve it. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.